Hello guys, this is Doran's Movies, and today I'll be talking about monks and how powerful they are in the lore, covering their history, abilities, and how they would fare in combat against other classes. So without further ado, let's get into the lore. Thousands of years ago, the Mogu had complete control of Pandaria. In order to achieve this, they had enslaved many of the native races to the continent, one of them being the Pandaren. Life under the Mogu was incredibly harsh, and in order to keep all the slaves in check, the Pandaren were forbidden to have any weapons and had very limited access to knowledge. However, one Pandaren by the name of Kang would eventually start a revolution. He realized that even though the Mogu put up this strong front, they were in fact weak, and their empire almost entirely relied on slaves. With no weapons, an uprising just seemed illogical, but Kang decided to focus on what they had, their fists and inner energy. These two principles would be the spark that would soon enough engulf all of Pandaria. The rebellion started and the Mogu were completely caught off guard. They were big, strong and carried massive weapons, but the monks focused on speed and agility, and their fighting style was something the Mogu had never experienced before. So soon enough, all of the other slave races joined the revolution and the Mogu Empire was crushed. Recently, the mist that had once shrouded the continent of Pandaria was broken, and the monks would once again be of great significance. Initially, the relationship between the Pandaren and the newly arrived armies was strained at best, but after some time they became great allies as they banded against common foes. Both the Alliance and the Horde were exposed to the way of the monk, and the Pandaren had taken on many students. Of course, no real masters exist from these new apprentices yet, but without a doubt the way of the monk is very much widespread today. So, with all of this talk about history and origin, who are really the monks and how do they work as a class? To put it simply, for a monk, it is not enough to practice and have combat experience, because getting an understanding of themselves and their own living spirit is just as important. This spirit is called Chi, and it is an energy unlike no other in this world. Monks can manipulate and control the Chi in both themselves and others, and through it they can empower their strikes, heal wounds, and even use it as a projectile. Chi is the main thing that separates a monk from a warrior, and their ability to manipulate it is a very important component to the skill of a monk. For example, a master monk would be able to do a lot more with the energy than an apprentice could, and because of this, becoming a monk takes a lot of dedication and sacrifice. Currently in-game, there are 3 specializations and they all differ significantly from each other. There are Brewmasters, Windwalkers, and Mistweavers, and in a sense they could all be a class of their own. Windwalkers are the closest to the stereotypical monks that we have, mainly focusing on hand-to-hand combat, agility and strength of both body and mind. On the other side, the Mistweavers put an emphasis on Chi and balancing the energies in both themselves and their allies, resembling healers the most. Finally, there are the Brewmasters, who train with the goal of defense and endurance, while also utilizing various brews, mixes and potions in order to empower themselves and damage their foes. In the game, these are very split and they're very much different, but in the lore, they're more like schools of the same art, and very often monks mix and match between all of them. So, with all of the various abilities that the monks have, how would they fare in combat against other classes? To start off, the warriors and rogues are the closest classes to the monks, and the three share very similar traits. However, monks are really a mix of both, utilizing agility and strength together with spirituality. A result of a duel between these classes would be very hard to determine, as there would be many factors involved. On average, the monks are on par with both the rogues and warriors in hand-to-hand combat, just with a very different fighting style, although their chi powers could give them a serious edge in battle. In theory, an average monk would be able to defeat a regular warrior, mainly because their training is very specialized and elite, and pretty much anyone can become a warrior. But we have seen examples of one of the strongest monks out there, Terran Zoo, losing to a warrior, Garrosh Hellscream. Of course, both of these are extremes of the classes, and the duel did seem very balanced, as Garrosh only won through an unexpected trick. So, when it comes to rogues and warriors, they are very much on par with the monks. Next on, we have the hunters, who, on the contrary, are very much different as a class. There is no doubt that monks in this case are much more specialized in direct hand-to-hand combat, but the hunters definitely have the advantage of range and a pet. Sure, the monks can heal and absorb damage, but absorbing a blow is not really the same as absorbing a bullet. Plus, fighting in melee against a Pandaren or any other humanoid is not the same as fist fighting an actual bear while being shot at the same time. However, in their defense, they do have their speed and ways to use their inner energy, the chi, in order to break the distance, allowing them to turn a battle in their favor. On the other side, there are the demon hunters and the death knights, who have very distinct edge over the monks. Death knights are more powerful in melee and can also use dark magic. On top of this, they don't feel pain, giving the monks a significant disadvantage when fighting them. A blow of a fist that can knock out and even kill a person is just not as effective when the person is already dead and he can't feel pain. This, bundled up with endless stamina and strength, makes the Death Knights stronger than the monks. The demon hunters are also more advanced than the monks, but they do share some common traits. Both of these classes focus on speed, strength and agility, but the demon hunters are just on a completely different level, as they're powered up by demonic magic. A monk is much more agile than the average fighter. However, the demon hunters have superhuman abilities that a monk, no matter the training, just wouldn't be able to reach. Next on, there are the shamans and the druids, who focus on elemental and nature magic. Of course, with these two classes, there are a million variations, shapes and forms that could fight the monks, but on average, a magic caster is just more powerful than a fighter that is focusing on melee combat. Of course, monks do have ways to absorb damage, but that is really made for melee, and without an actual magic shield that utilizes magic, it is just hard to counter spells. Aside from this, druids can shapeshift and use the nature against a monk, while a shaman could also turn the land against his foes. When it comes to priests and paladins, it is a very strange match, as the magic they use is very much different from that of a monk. Paladins are on par when it comes to melee, and with their magic, they are just more sophisticated fighters than the monks. Priests, on the other hand, would definitely lose in melee combat, but their magic is much stronger than any power a monk can muster. Finally, there are the three classes that would have no issue with defeating the monks, which are mages, warlocks and the shadow priests. All of these three can cast very powerful magic that the monks would have no way to block. Of course, they could beat a caster by closing in the distance before a spell is casted, but that is very dependent on the duel scenario. However, purely looking from a power scale perspective, these casters are very much above the monks. So when it comes to the power level, I would say that the monks are low with a very high potential of going to medium. As I mentioned in all of the videos of this series, I am referring mainly to the average versus average, just pure firepower type comparison, and of course in real battles there are countless factors that can lead a class to a victory. All in all, the monks are definitely one of the most unique classes out there, and even though a big part of them are from Pandaria, without a doubt in the future they will be very widespread. Alright, and that is all I have for this video. Do keep in mind that this series is just my own subjective opinion based on the available lore facts, and feel free to leave your thoughts below on how powerful you think the monks are. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this, and like the video as it really helps out and keeps all the content going. Thanks a lot for taking time out of your day to watch this video, and see you next time.